Thanks for traveling here, coming up here today and showing your respect and paying honor to Swannie and the family. I want to thank everybody for those that traveled the greatest distances to come here. We heard of the Learjets and the helicopters, the police-escorted limo rides. That just takes care of Sonny Sixfiller and Tim Osborne. But thanks for coming. I would like to, we're going to have a slideshow. I was, before we started Swanson, I was Jimmy's business partner. My name's Steve Breda. In his last two sports bars that we had Rupert's over on First Avenue, Pioneer Square, and then we finished up with Swannie's on the alley down in Richmond Beach. Jeff Keller was a partner, and great times. Tanner, do you want to come up and say a few words and then work the slideshow in? Tanner Swanson.
All right, Danny.
Okay, I'll admit it's somewhat unconventional to open a tribute of a memorial with some super weird statue of Roman times on the porch of this villa where I am here in Las Vegas. But I would also argue that doing something absurd to honor Swannie is kind of fitting. I got to know him, and by the way, this isn't my villa. I'm in the Standard King and I'm not happy about it. I got to know Swannie like when I was 25, 26, somewhere in there, kind of just starting out. And he was always so encouraging. He got into what people he liked were doing, and he stayed with me really the rest of our lives together, where he wanted to know what was next, and are you improving, and how's it going? And he also wanted to tell some more old stories, which is how you really get to know him back in the old days, because he told long stories, he told absurd stories, and some of them I didn't really believe, but there was no internet. Swannie was actually a left-handed catcher in the Yankees organization. I would quickly find out that was true, and most everything else was, because next thing you know, Ron Guidry is standing behind the bar serving drinks. He also had well drinks for the price of Dave Valley's batting average. I don't know if they appreciated it back then, but I think he considers it an honor now. And I'm honored just to be a little part of this, because when you think about Swannie, he was a character, but that's sort of an insult because he was more than that. He was a very sincere guy too, but he just had so many different things and so many different relationships and so many cool little avenues that you could explore with him as he told you about his life. Kind of reminded me of that movie Big Fish, where the father has all these stories and the kids don't exactly believe it, but then when he passes, the giant shows up and all the other characters showed up. And for this, I got to show up this way. And I miss Swannie. I have great affection for the family, and I'm glad you guys are all together up there to honor him.
I want to start just by thanking everybody for being here. It warms my heart to see a lot of familiar faces. Today we celebrate the life of Jim Swanson. Swannie, Swan Dog, Dad, Papa Swan. A man whose life is best defined by his engaging persona. The iconic chapters, the legendary experiences, and his fierce love for his friends and family. Marlon Brando, who many of us know as the guy on the motorcycle mural on the Roslyn Theater, was one of the originators of a technique known as method acting, a popular Hollywood practice in which an actor completely immerses himself into a role. An attempt of sorts to become the character they are portraying. In preparation for his famous role in The Men, Brando stayed in a hospital bed for an entire month to better understand the mindset of the injured vet he'd be playing on screen. I share this because when I reflect upon my father, the question I find myself processing the most is this: was Swannie a world-class typecaster, a method actor of sort who was stuck in character, or was he just better than most at being authentic? Was he performing, or did he really just care less about perception and what you experienced was his true self manifested fully? Was it his wit or his charm that made him so appealing? Or was it because he lived each day uninhibited, leaving those who played more within the boundaries a little envious, and often shaking their head with a smile. I found my answer, and this day certainly proves that. Dad didn't manufacture an image. That would have been far too complex. Instead, he lived and he loved directly from his heart. His greatest gift was to give. His spirit was infectious, and he found extreme pleasure in sharing it. Dad had a presence that only comes from being extremely confident. For better or for worse, it comes from embracing your shortcomings and not hiding from them. Like many of us, he had his fair share. Authenticity requires a healthy level of vulnerability to express yourself completely, unrestrained by expectations or standards. Brene Brown describes vulnerability as the cornerstone of confidence. Dad was wholeheartedly committed to being exactly who he was, and it was fucking beautiful. Sorry. He was unpolished, but unashamed. Without question, the greatest lesson my father taught me was the value of confidence. Not the one that's deployed for others, but the kind that's rooted in the belief that you are capable. The kind that allows you to dream big. The kind that allows you to push yourself into rooms and run in crowds that you don't belong. The kind that is humble, but free of limitations. Dad was a dreamer, an optimist. He could see the potential in nearly any circumstance or person, both traits that I actively try to apply in my own life. Whether in pursuit of his dreams, or some may say his impulses, Dad made his own rules and could convince you that they made more sense. He was endearingly inappropriate. Few people could insult you indirectly and then solicit a hug in the same encounter. You can't say that, or you can't do that. It was constant feedback from his children. Each were met with a smile or a chuckle. He could, and he did. I learned to respect the gift of the gab and the power of connection. He was absolutely masterful. He did things unapologetically, his way, and many followed enthusiastically. He zigged when others would zag. He was an open book, a free spirit. He always said exactly what he was thinking. Brash and unafraid, he wasn't paralyzed by the fear of looking stupid. He never took himself or a task too seriously. He could be both cocky and self-deprecating, often at the same time. Dad loved to laugh, but even more so, he'd do almost anything for a good story. Dad was both generous and compassionate. He'd give you the shirt off his back, and then somehow get you to pay for it. In true Swannie hustle fashion, Lily and I actually considered selling t-shirts in the back. We couldn't get that printed in time. 20 scoots, he would have attested. Dad didn't raise no fools. See, most kids learn at a young age how to fish or build campfires. I learned to scalp tickets. Barter and win favorable bets, throwing lines and targets or sinking mini hoop shots from across the bar. Way more valuable in my opinion. Dad had range that I always admired. Not range on the mini hoops, but range in his circle of influence. He could hold court with famous athletes, and in the same day, take time to engage with a homeless man or woman from the block, many of which he knew by name, would feed regularly, and even at times employed. His friend group was vast, and it was diverse. He was accepting of all walks of life. He could see cool for cool, and that was that. This wasn't political grandstanding to maintain his self-appointed position as the mayor of Pioneer Square. This was just who he was. Dad left this earth on Sunday, February 27th, only a few days short of the start of Lent, his favorite week of the year. I don't think you could stand the thought of missing another Fat Tuesday in an assisted living facility. Dad loved a good party. Dad also loved to boast about his days as an altar boy at grade school at Our Lady of Lourdes. He'd tell everyone, as if each proclamation would repent all future shenanigans to follow. A true maverick in every sense of the word, unorthodox and independent-minded. Thank you all for the role you played in helping my father live his best life. The loyal friendships, the unconditional love to a man who always gave the same in return. Thank you for making this day so special. His legacy is strong and will live on forever in our hearts. I'll leave you with this quote from Jackie Robinson. "A life is not important except on the impact it has on other lives." Thank you, Dad. You impacted us all. Love you, don't change.
Just can't remember who to send it to. I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've seen lonely times when I could not find a friend. But I always thought that I'd see you again. Stand. You just got to see me through another day. My body's aching and my time is at hand. I won't make it any other way. Oh, I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never.
I was having lunch at Swannie's when Jim told me to get in a little bagel parked in the alley. Little did I know I was on my way to Kamloops for the Kamloops International Baseball Tournament. That trip changed my life. The following June, Jim asked me if I wanted to sponsor the team. I said yes, and have been involved in summer leagues of baseball for the last 37 years. During that time, the team has gone on to win 3 national championships under the leadership of Barry Aiden. I don't know what made Jim want to be my friend, but I am forever grateful he did. He included me in his family, and I marveled at what a great father he was. At least 90% of my friends are the result of my involvement with the studs. Jim, you are missed, and the legacy you've left is secure. Once a stud, always a stud. Love ya.
The sun goes down, the stars come out, and all that counts is here and now. My universe will never be the same. I'm glad you came. you came. The sun goes down, the stars come out, and all that counts is here and now. My universe will never be the same. I'm glad you came. I'm glad you came. So let's go somewhere no one else can see you. Turn the lights out now. Now I'll take you by the hand, hand you another drink. Drink it if you can. Can you spend the day on time? Time is slipping away.
Daddy, I'm afraid. Won't you stay a little while? Keep me safe. There's monsters right outside. Daddy, please don't go. I don't wanna be alone. 'Cause the second that you're gone, they're gonna know. Before he went to bed, he grabbed my hand and said, just 'cause I'm leaving, it don't mean that I won't be right by your side. When you need me, you can't see me in the middle of the night. Just close your eyes and say a prayer. It's okay, I know you're scared when I'm not here, but I'll always be right there. Even though I'm leaving, I ain't going nowhere. There will be late, and Uncle Sam don't like the way. He's got a big old plane that's gonna take me far away. I know I ain't tough, but there's a churning in my gut, 'cause I just can't call you up when things get rough. For I'll empty up my net and say, just 'cause you're leaving, it don't mean that I won't be right by your side. When you need me, you can't see me in the middle of the night. Just close your eyes and say a prayer. It's okay, I know you're scared, I might be here, but I'll always be right there. Even though you're leaving, I ain't going nowhere. Daddy, I'm afraid. Won't you stay a little while? I never thought I'd see the day I had to say goodbye. Daddy, please don't go. I can't do this on my own. There's no way that I can walk this road alone. Daddy grabbed my hand and said, just 'cause I'm leaving, it don't mean that I won't be right by your side. When you need me and you can't see me in the middle of the night, just close your eyes and say a prayer. It's okay, boy, I ain't scared, I won't be here, but I'll always be right there. Even though I'm leaving, I ain't going nowhere.
is Jim's sister.
I don't know how to follow Tanner. God. All we know is that college education does help. We had to educate at least a few of these kids. You know, I am amazed at how many people he touched, or how many people were crazy enough to be his friend. You know, I came up here to really talk about Jimmy, my brother. Most of you know him as Swannie, Swan Dog, Jim. I didn't see Jimmy up there, but you know, it was growing up with him. And I think that you need to all hear a few stories about what that was like. You know, the guy never didn't have a baseball glove and a baseball in his hand when we were this big. And we had a great neighborhood. And there was always a kid to play with. Every house had kids. But he wanted to catch a ball 94/7, you know, or 24/7, sorry. And, you know, so I'd get drug out of the house. I can't tell you how many times I played catch with him and hot box. I don't know if any of the girls knew what hot box was, I hate to say. But, you know, I would catch with him, and he would look down the street and see kids coming down the street, and kind of looks at them, and looks at me, and looks at them. Now, can he or she, never very many girls, but can he catch better than throw and catch better than my sister? And if he could, I ended up being the runner. But if he couldn't, I got to catch. So, and a lot of times I got to catch. But you know, I also played a lot of softball. I mean, I played 8 years of softball. And his Little League coach, I think one of his first ones, was Chuck Bell. And he then became my softball coach. He was a good Catholic, there was a good Catholic family, so he had 5 daughters. And once they got old enough, he became a softball coach. And our whole infield was redheads, but me. And I was the catcher. But I threw with the correct hand. You know, I can't say that was him, but you know, he taught me a lot. He taught me a lot of heart and a lot of strength. I remember when we would play on Lavina Street, he would take a tennis racket and he'd hit a hard ball as high as he could in the air, and I had to catch it. Except for when it hit a telephone wire, smacked me right in the mouth, and he goes, "Stop being a baby. You know, you're talking to that." And that's really what it was. It really came down to that. There was 3 of us girls and him, the golden boy. You know, so it was tough, but we got tougher. You know, he tried to beat the shit out of us constantly. And I remember then when we moved to 44th Street and lived next to another big Catholic family. They had a bunch of kids. And they put a boxing match on the basement floor. He'd grab me, take me over there, throw some boxing gloves at me, and then we proceeded to beat the shit out of each other. I didn't always lose, so that to me was memorable. You know, he was bigger in life than Vancouver. You guys are all from Seattle, well, most of you. A few of you did come from other locations, but not from the town that we grew up in. He was just, I idolized him. I remember girls grow faster than guys, so I was always taller than him, and he hated it. And there was a point in my life where I thought, God, why can't I just give him a couple inches of my height? We didn't have Title IX, and Tanner, you should thank God we have Title IX. You had enough girls. Anyways, we didn't have it, so I didn't care. You know, and today's sports, you need to get that scholarship, which most parents want for their girls. You know, you had to have it. I didn't have to have it, so I got to play every sport with my full heart because I love playing sports, and it was because of him. You know, I idolized him. I think I said that. I won't say it again. I promise. But I remember too. There was times then I followed him to college. That was a mistake. You know, I only could stay a year. I couldn't drink as fast as those guys could, so I ended up heading back. but it was no different, you know. Jim, he would play basketball, and he was on the floor more than he was on his 2 feet, trying to draw fouls. He was on the floor because he was so entertaining. But that's just who he was, you know. Everybody loved him. Everybody took his bullshit with a grain of salt. I think sometimes, you know, but those people who had other names to call him aren't here, I know that. But anyway, it was a great life, and those are the memories. Oh, I gotta say one more story, you know. Once he became the guy in Seattle, Swannie in Seattle, he'd come for Christmas, and he would take a big garbage bag full of all his Swannie paraphernalia, every sweatshirt, t-shirt, hat, with his name on it, and threw it in the middle of my parents' living room floor and says, "Here's your Christmas present, pick what you want." After the 4th year, we said, "We have everything, we don't have that bag anymore." But that's, you know, that's what it was. So, you know, I just needed to say these things because those are the memories I'm going to cherish. You know, when he became bigger than life, I mean, he was that way then there too, but not as Jimmy, my big brother. So I just had to share that with you. Anyway.
Dan, it was a great job. I don't know how anybody can do it like you just did. Hey, maybe let's give him another hand for that. You only left 2 things out. I just wanted to bring that up. Jimmy was most proud in life of 2 things. Lily and Tanner. Anytime that story came up, their names came up, wherever we were, that dude would sit up straight, his chest was out, shoulders raised, chin up, and he was saying something positive, and if you weren't, it was a quick conversation. Lily, when you made him a grandpa, he was so proud. And then you got the food truck, and you named it the Swannie. That dude was doing cartwheels. Dan, when you got married, I remember all your groomsmen got around Jimmy in his chair for that memorable picture that he had. I don't know if I've ever seen that dude proud of my life, but that's a picture that I'll never forget. That was a heck of a day, especially when we all realized how you married way over your pay grade. We call it out kicking the coverage, and it's pretty consistent really with Jimmy and his life, so glad you could follow up on the family trait with that. He was sure proud, though, Tanner, that you got into his baseball world, being a coach, you know, and doing the path that you followed. And that was way before you put the pinstripes on. So the early years coming up, the stories you would tell us every weekend, the things you were doing, it was like we were there in the ball field. And I just had never seen somebody more proud of his son, you know, and his daughter, and the stories he would share. So I just wanted you and Lily and Tanner, thank you. Thank you for helping us with all those stories. So I'm gonna open the mic up for those that want to come up, maybe just have a couple quick stories, just maybe 2 or 3 minutes. I know you had an opportunity to share some out back, but if you know, I know people traveled a great distance to get here. Also, I want to apologize for those here from, I didn't mention, how many are from Clay Elm and Roslyn? How many are here? Yeah, okay, so thanks for coming. We saw the 12 bikes out front, 4 scooters and 3 skateboards. And it was tough getting here, so we want to thank you. Sorry, I forgot. Put the guns down and don't worry. It was humor. Real quick, I want to just tell a story. If I'm stealing somebody's story, it was going to come up and say that I really don't care. But Swannie, when he was back in his days playing with the Mavericks, and catching. He got to catch the first game from the first female professional umpire. A lot of you may have heard some of the story. A few of you have, I hear. So, but I got to hear it from two counts, one from Swannie and one from Hendu. Dave Anderson, who was actually at the plate up at bat when it all came down and took place. It was the first inning, third batter, Hendu's up to bat, female umpire behind him, Bowden's on the mound, Swannie's catching, first pitch right down the middle of the plate. She calls the ball. Oh, wait a minute. Second pitch, right down the middle of the plate. Ball. He gives a little turn of his head, doesn't look back, throws it back. Third pitch, right down the middle of the plate. He goes, I never turned my head, I never showed her up. I did say, your strike zone is as big as your dick. She runs around, she grabs his mascot. You're out of here. You're gone. Wait, first inning. You can't throw me out of the first inning. I was going to ask you out in the second inning. So sorry if I stole the story. Sorry. Anybody, if you want to work your way up, if anybody wants to come up and say a little something, we're more than welcome to do it. If not, I'm going to make some shit up real quick. So, 37 minutes to kill.
I can't match any of these stories. I'm Tanner's father-in-law. I'm honored to be Tanner's father-in-law. In March of 2008, we were hiking up the ridge in Roslyn. Tanner and I fell behind, everybody's up in the snow. Tanner goes, Doug, what do you think about marriage and stuff? I said, well, marriage is a real commitment. You have to, it's a lifetime deal, hopefully, and that kind of thing. And he goes, okay, I get it. What I'm trying to say is it okay if I marry your daughter? I said, I would be honored, and I am honored, and I've been honored every day since. Jim's story I have is, Jim moved to Clayton and got a job at Suncadia. I like to ride my bike through Suncadia. I didn't even know he was working the front gate. I'm riding along, going around the gate like you always do instead of through the thing. I hear this, hey old man. What's that? Get over here. I go over there and say, oh, hi Jim, hi. Well, you could at least stop and say hi. And I said, well Jim, I'm kind of an introvert. Not around me or not. And so, next time I'm riding through the gate, I'm going around the other way. Hey, young man. I went from old to young in a week. That was just Jim. You know, I really appreciated Jim. He wouldn't like to be an introvert. And we became good friends. And he and Machen had Tanner, and one of the greatest honors of my life is to call Tanner son now. He's part of our family. Jim was always joking around, you've heard all about that, but he was also about family, he was about his kids. And I'm really proud to have known Jim and to have Tanner as part of our big growing family all the time, and his kids, and really appreciate everybody being here and being able to say these things, so thank you.
Hey, Sonny.
How we doing?
We're good now.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to say that Tanner, great job. Love to see the pictures, and I think for everybody here, we don't get a chance to see Swannie when he looked pure and simple and honest, and, worthy. I mean, that wasn't really Jimmy, Just getting get back to Jimmy. But when you said something, I have to tell you, the first time I ever saw Jim Swanson, we're playing City League basketball. I think we're down in Beer Inn or somewhere. I said it on that video. And we're just kind of getting started to warm up, and the other team's showing up. I think Frank Peters might have been on that team. You know Frank Peters. Anyway. Oh yeah, that's a different story. Anyway, here comes this guy walking on the court. I look over, he's got high top shoes on, pair of Levi's, a wool jacket down to the top of the shoes, looking cool. He's got one of those Bryson DeChambeau wool hats on. He's got long hair, walking around like he owns the court. All right? Like he owns the court. The game starts, and anybody know Manu Ginobili? What's he known for? Flopping. Jesus Christ, this Swannie guy, every time you got near him in the key, he'd fall down. And finally in the second half, I said, fuck it, I'm going to run right over him. You know, if they're going to call it, I'm going after him. And that's really how I met Jim Swanson. Face to face on the court. And to this day, my wife still can't stand him as a basketball player. But over the years, you know, I used to work for the Rainier Brewing Company, and so Dave Peluso, Eddie Black, we'd all go over to have lunch at Swannie's. And Dave Peluso told me this week, he goes, Six, I want you to tell him, every time I went to Swannie's, we'd have lunch, order a burger. Before Swannie would put it down on the table, Swannie would take a big bite of the burger and set it down. Right? How many? Anybody else have that happen to them? And then he'd bust your table and take the tray or the plate back to the busing table, and on the way back he'd eat French fries. Right? And I think he probably had about 5 Swannie Cokes by then. If anybody knows what that is. Yes, there we go. But I'll tell you what, over the years, Swannie and I had more fun. I mean, he'd always ask me to come down and be a judge at the lingerie competition downstairs. Anybody else go to that? Hey, where's Tim Osborne? I know you were down there.
Where's Tim? Where's Tim?
But I tell you what, you know, just so much fun. One time he goes, Six, come here. I go, what? He goes, look, if you look right through here, they didn't close the curtain. It's a lingerie show. They're changing. I said, Swannie, I can't look. He goes, it's pretty good. Okay, all right, Swannie, I'll take a peek, whatever. But, you know, Tanner hit it right on the head, though. He would give you a, God damn it, Six, what the fuck? Are we still on for Thursday? You know, he was that kind of guy that would give you shit, at the same time, reach back out to you. Literally in almost the same sentence. You know, and you just gotta love that guy. I remember many times going down and going over to the Mariner games with him for an afternoon game, meet at Swannie's, go over with Snake Knudsen, who coached at UW at the time. And I used to love sitting and hearing them talk about the pitching and catching. Because they would dissect it, and Swannie was into it, man. He loved baseball, as Tanner knows. And anybody that's around it, baseball, you know, love baseball. And you know. But I tell you what, Swannie had the biggest heart. He cared about people. I'm not trying to hit on everything Tanner said, but it's true. I've seen it. And many days, all of us in the beverage industry would gather at Swannie's, usually right after lunch till about 5. If you sold an alcoholic beverage, you were at Swannie's on a Friday afternoon. There'd be like 10 or 12 of us in there. And Swannie holding court, right? Everybody ordering liquor. Goddamn, ordering a goddamn couple more of those Patrons. I need the money. You know, that kind of thing. And he just loved it. He loved everybody, and sorely missed. God, I remember one time he called home. I was selling beverages at the time. Told my wife, somebody's supposed to play quarterback tonight. I'm like, what? He had mentioned it like 3 weeks before. Somebody was not going to be there. He wanted to come out and play quarterback. Flag football. Swannie, you didn't tell me anything. And he goes, well, goddamn it, you need to be there. Okay, so I ran home, got changed, went to the, wherever we were, and what was his name? Steve, first Seahawk draft choice. Niehaus. Steve Niehaus was on the team. Right? Good job. Who came up with that? All right. I was on that team. But it's the kind of guy I could have said, F you, I'm not coming. That's in a half an hour. He goes, God damn it, get your ass down here. What did I do? I got my ass down there. Didn't want to turn him down. But there's so many stories. I'm sure you all have them. But, you know, Jimmy was one of a kind and a good friend, loved his kids, loved his family, and loved his friends. That's why we're here. Enjoy.
Somebody else coming? So real quick, just wanted to say Kitty May talked about the Day Valley days, the drinks. So Jimmy had a deal in there that he was selling his highballs for the price of a Valley's batting average, which was like $1.43, right? So Valley sends his attorney in the Swannies, and he's in there and he's taking pictures of all the signs and Jimmy says, what the hell, why are you here? Because well, I'm his attorney, he doesn't want his name associated with alcohol. Swannie goes, well, I'm going broke, why don't you have him pay for a batting coach so he can get his batting average up? Get me out of here.
And on, and how I met Swannie, well, I was paying a parking ticket down on 3rd and Cherry.
Might have been a speeding ticket.
Probably a speeding ticket. And my lovely girlfriend was sitting in the car. She drove me down. When I come out, and there's some guy kneeling down, talking through the window. Come on. He just offered me a job at Peter's Inn, which was on 3rd and Cherry. And I've known him since, when was that?
77.
77. So I'm only 30 years old.
Hi, my name's Kurt, and I dated Ashley's Swannie's stepdaughter, Ashley, and so I guess I would be his stepson-in-law, or that's what he used to call me. But anyway, Swannie had a heart of gold, and he was proud of his children and his stepchildren, and I can vouch for that. He was so proud of Ashley, and she's no longer with us either. But yeah, I remember, what was it, when I first met Swannie, Ashley was like, he got me my stepdad, Swannie. And he knew I was coming over, it was all arranged, and the first thing he says to me is, who the fuck are you? Like, and I was completely thrown off. But by the time we were done, of course, we were, hugging, and like Tanner summed it up, an insult to be hugging you in the same visit. And that's exactly was my experience with him. And he treated me like I was his son-in-law, and he had a heart of gold, and that's just all I can really say. And the last time I saw Swannie, it chokes me up, but it was when Ashley was on her way out, and I just remember Swannie was holding Ashley's hand at the hospital bed, and he would not leave her side, and he was there for hours. Like we were there all night, and Swannie was, and his memory was starting to descend, but he knew who Ashley was, and he wouldn't leave her side. And that's just the image that I have from him, and it's just a heart of gold. Right? That's all I can say. And yeah, R.I.P. Swannie, fucking legend.
I'm sort of good. Can you hear me?
Now grow a couple inches.
Okay. Okay, I'm sort of a clown connection, some media connection with Swannie. And when Swannie first came here,
he got a job as a greeter up in the Swannie greeter cottage. And what a perfect person to be up there for a greeter. And if you ever read the book, the author, as Doug said, yelled at him and screamed him to come over into the greeter cottage. And that's how the book got known. Well, anyway, Swannie didn't know any addresses, didn't know where the inn was, the lodge, nothing. And he was the greeter, and everybody who comes there, that's what they stop in there for. So Swannie would have a map in his hand, but he would talk to him for about 10 minutes, and then at the end of the talk, he would say, here's a map, and you'll find where you're going. That's a true story. No, true story. When Swannie wanted to have a little snack every now and then, he'd run up to it was the inn at the time, and the lodge also was there, but anyway, he ran into the general manager one day, and general manager come in and said, well, hi Jim, how you doing? Well, great, could you give me some food? And he did it. Unbelievable, he went and got it for him. Okay, and then another story about Jim, you know, we had co-ed softball here, and he was our umpire. He was the designated umpire. And, you know, we weren't very good, but anyway, my wife gets up to the plate. The pitcher pitches 8 pitches, and Swannie calls 8 balls in a row. My wife turns around, and you looking at my ass, or you looking at the plate? I'm looking at your ass.
Is Randy Johnson is here? Is he here? Randy? Okay, I'll tell the story then. So Randy, one game Randy throws a one-hitter against Oakland Athletics. The night before, Swannie got the whole Oakland Athletics team at Swannie's down to the underground till like 4 in the morning. And they're doing a contest where, you know, anybody's been there, you know, the picture frames of the comedians are all over the wall down there. They took a chair over in a corner, turn it backwards, and you had to sit in the chair and throw with your opposite hand that you throw with. And if you could break one of the picture frame glasses, right, then you didn't have to take a shot. Otherwise, you're taking a shot. He'd get all night. And all these picture frames get busted up. The next day, Swannie's going, what the hell did I do? So after the game, he calls Randy. He said, Randy, you owe me $1,000. He says, well, what for? Well, I had the whole Oakland A's team down in the underground the night before. You throw a one-hitter, you owe me $1,000. Randy goes, tell me one thing. If second baseman Gallego was down there, I'd pay you $1,000. Swannie goes, the only motherfucker wasn't there. Randy goes, have a nice day. Anybody else? Oh, here we go.
My name is Bob Campbell, and I play for the Seattle Rugby Club. And Swannie sponsored our team in the late 80s, early 90s, and so it became our hangout. And I would go there quite a bit and hang out in the bar, drink beer. And I'm just ready for it. I'm working a real job, and I'm squandering all my earnings to play rugby on my own expense. And one night I'm sitting there, and kind of a drunk guy comes up to me and says, hey, I'm a really big fan of yours. Can I have your autograph? And I knew that he wasn't referring to Bob Campbell. He was referring to somebody on the wall. There's pictures of all the Swannies, you know, the athlete pictures on the wall. He thought it was somebody else. I'm like, well, sure, I'll give you an autograph. I'm thinking, who the hell does he think I am? And so I go, hey, Swannie, I need a pen. This guy wants my autograph. And Jim looks and goes, I don't. So Swannie goes over and he gets a pen right in the bar, he kind of scans the wall, and he points at Kirk Gibson. And he brings the pen back, and I'm like, Kirk Gibson? And I look at the guy, and I'm like, hey, Miss Hughes, I'm looking some more. He's not my word guy, right? And Swannie says, yeah, you gotta give them what they want.
Wow. What a turnout. And my heart's beating about as fast as when I was playing defense against Swannie in high school. Anybody that played ball against them, I know there's one person in this audience that did. Ty Gordon from Kelso High School. He used to kick our butts. But playing basketball against or with Swannie was like playing basketball against a bowling ball with chainsaws. The guy was just all elbows, all knees. And I can attest to that. I have a scar in the middle of my forehead. We were playing 2-on-2 in high school, and we go up for a rebound, and Swannie didn't care. He was going after the ball. He turns and elbows me right in the middle of the forehead, and I'm bleeding all over the place. And I screamed at him, and he goes, "What?" I said, "We're playing on the same team." He did not care. He led the league in floor burdens. It didn't matter. He was on the floor more than he was on his feet. But that was Swannie. Swannie was a fighter. I don't mean with his fist. I mean with his heart. The guy was probably the most inspirational guy I think I've ever met on a playing field or in my life. You see, you didn't meet Swannie. Swannie met you. He met you where you were. He had such charisma. More than anybody I think I've ever met, and I've met thousands of people in my life. And he had it. He had that it factor. And everybody in this room knows it. He could talk his way into things and out of things more than anybody I've ever known. Great story. I was taking him to Seattle one time back in the day. And we had to go to the bathroom. We stopped at a rest stop. And there was too big a line. So we move on down the road. And we stop at a convenience store. And we walk in. We all got to go to the bathroom really bad. And the line is almost out the door. So I said, "I'm going out to use the tree." So he goes, "Okay." I go out, come back in like 2 minutes. He's already talked his way to the front of that line. And he was next in line, but come to find out, he wanted everybody to think that he was going to be next, but he was just kind of what he was guarding the door. So that was probably an incredible story right there. But all I can say is I've known Jim since the 7th grade. I played every sport as long as I can remember. And he always had this confidence, yet this humility about him that I really admired. He was brash, he was cocky, but he was a servant to all of us. He served us joy, he served us inspiration, and he's the type of guy that only comes through this world once. There will never be another Swannie on this earth. When God made him, he didn't break the mold. There was no mold. He was a one-off. And we all know that. So Jimmy, if I got to speak for you, I would say this. Your legacies are standing in front of me today, and no more importantly than his 2 children. It's an amazing testimony to see how many people he affected in his life. And the things we'll always remember about him, we won't always remember him until we see his face. Somewhere along the line, we'll wake up and we'll think of Swannie and remember about all the good things in his life because he brought us so much joy. And it's really hard to put into words. I could stand here up here all day, but if I stand up here much longer, my mascara's going to run. So I got to be a little careful here, but you know, in Swannie's best of form, Swanson. And I love you so much. We're going to start closing it down. If you still have some stories, don't forget there's video room in the back. Love to have that on video. We have Jimmy's beautiful daughter, Lily, coming up.
I'm not much of a public speaker, so I'm going to keep this very short. I just want to thank everybody that came out today. It really shows how special my dad really was by seeing everybody here, and it really warms my heart. And I want to thank everybody who helped out for today. Longo's for donating a lot of the meat and cheeses, Lum's Coffee for donating the coffee, Sherry Maruso so much for helping Tanner and I out with everything. you. And my friends who came and helped me this morning and family, I appreciate it, and it wouldn't have been done without all you guys here. And it's so good to see so many faces that I have not seen since I was 5 years old. So it's been overwhelming, and I couldn't ask for anything better. And my dad would be crying right now seeing everybody here. So thank you very much for coming.
One final note, let's give Piper a round of applause for the video. We love you all for another hour or so. Please drink